So it's a very long one. All right, all through this, of course, here's God Speaks. We translated into French, Dieu parle, that's pretty easy, and into Spanish, Dios habla. And the French publisher, we get almost down to the wire. And he says to me now, we've been having a few sects, S-E-C-T-S, not S-E-X, S-E-C-T-S here, in which people have been either murdered or committed suicide. So anything that smacks of, sort of an internally organized and not properly based thing is death on wheels. Our government is against it, our readers are against it. So if I come out with a book with Dieu parle on it and a picture of Meherabad underneath it, I'm in for trouble, serious trouble directly here in France. So I said, well, this one certainly hasn't been an easy one. Frankly, to my amazement, the Spanish publisher never brought it up. And when I got the thing out of the publisher's place in Barcelona just about a month ago, it was hot off the press. There was Baba's picture underneath Dios habla. I'd have to give him free choice of whatever he wanted to put on the front. So he made it on his own. He said, no, I like it, and that's the way we decided to do it. But all of this just to give you a little bit of background, first of all, the fact that when you start going into publishing Baba, and especially when you're translating, you run into a mare's nest of things that have got to be resolved, carefully, honestly based, personality problems that come up. The translator, somewhere or another, always becomes so deeply, deeply attached to Baba's words that they become the child of Baba. And anytime you want to change one of their words that they feel they have gotten direct in their language from Baba, you've got a mess on their hands. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. I've lived through these for 20 years now, and that's why my hair somewhere is getting rather thin up there. I've still got a little bit left. But these are deep problems. All right, so Dieu parle, Dios habla. To me, it has always been a challenge from a publishing standpoint. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago, as I come out of the bathroom at 3:30 in the morning, Don, you should have taken seriously at least the possibility that Baba meant what he chose in words for the title, God Speaks. Is it possible that God Speaks is written by God? Well, now, mind you, there's something that I call the three hats of Meherabad, which I had to invent for Don Stevens to make sense out of some of the different things that I've observed Baba do and also say since I've been around. I've had to come rather rapidly to the conclusion. Is Heather Nagel here? Oh, Heather will remember this because I sprung the three hats business on her sort of early. Anyway, what it came down to was, first of all, I began coming to the conclusion that what the Mandali, the old Mandali who had been around Baba virtually since the beginning, would tell me in the way of stories, and some of them made my hair stand on end. They could talk about Baba being mad and criticizing him, knocking him downstairs and things of this sort. And this just doesn't correspond to the Baba that I knew. He got mad at me twice, and I'll bring that up, I hope at an appropriate time, because I found he could wield anger to tremendous esoteric good. So, but nevertheless, always different ones that I knew from the old days would tell me stories about how Baba had treated him in this and that situation. Not with hurt or anything, but the great things that happened to them in relation to Baba, certainly in the early days, very often had a tough background, a personal relationship involved somewhere. And I would say, God, I hope that never happens. I say, well, Don, sooner or later it will. Prepare yourself. So here was I, always waiting for the inevitable, a side swipe or kicking me downstairs or something like that to happen as a gesture. But when it didn't happen, it didn't happen, and it didn't happen, time was passing on. And I saw Baba almost always quite different. Loving, instantly knowing what had to be tackled in the personal relationship. I said, I wonder if it's possible that Baba was acting in a role of a perfect master in the early part of his, what should I say, duty in relation to humanity. So I just began talking to myself about Baba wearing the perfect master's hat. And then, of course, it was pretty obvious that I was experiencing him as the avatar. And that made sense because I saw how he fulfilled that role, and the care, the meticulousness, and the love with which he fulfilled the role of the avatar. But every once in a while, I had also to admit that in the writings direct from Mayor Baba, I would run across passages where Baba would say, I did this, I did that, I did so and so. For instance, creating creation. Well, you know, the avatar wasn't around when creation got created. And so I said, well, he had a third hat, and this is obvious because he always mentions it again and again, that he's also God. He knows himself as God. And he says, I'm no different from you, you're really God too. The only thing is, you don't know it yet, and I know it from me already. But I'm no different from you. The avatar is not different from you, fundamentally. So these I call the three hats of Meher Baba. God, avatar, and perfect master. And as I read through various things and heard various stories, this made great sense to me. Now, when this intuition, as I was going back to bed at 3:30 in the morning in the south of France, said, Don, you should have taken this seriously. That immediately, I knew, let's say, could be explained as Baba as God. But no, this intuition went a step further, because I'd seen Baba too many times at the end of the day when he'd come out from Mandali, all with the Mandali, and the Arish would read out Opar Bardigar. Baba in communication and love and reverence for Baba's the avatar here, and God is whom he was in communication with. So I knew there had to be, from that long experience of seeing that repeated and various other things, that there had to be a possibility that God could use the avatar himself as a sort of secretary.